This is ANN News Brief.
The United Nations says it had information that Libyan guards shot at refugees and migrants trying to flee from airstrikes that killed at least 53 persons, including 6 children, in a migrant detention center late on Tuesday. A UN humanitarian report said on Thursday there were 2 airstrikes, one hitting an unoccupied garage and the other one hammering a hangar containing more than 100 refugees and migrants. It says following the first impact, some refugees and migrants were fired upon by guards as they tried to escape. The UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs says at least 53 persons, including children, are now confirmed dead from the attack on the Tajura camp. UN High Commissioner for Human Rights Michelle Bachelet has said the attack could constitute a war crime. Algeria's interim president Abdelkader Bensalah has repeated his call in a state television address for elections and national dialogue to end the political crisis in the country as mass protests calling for political reforms continue. Bensalah says this is necessary to lay the groundwork for presidential elections to end the political crisis. He said this will be the only democratic solution and that the army will not be involved in the talks. Bensalah's previous appeals for dialogue have been rejected by protesters who want to overhaul the entire political system. The mass protests fueled the resignation of President Abdelaziz Bouteflika 3 months ago. An election earlier scheduled for this month was postponed for lack of candidates. Stay with us. We'll be back after this short break.
Shining our eyes on breaking news, whether in the east or in the west, with Al-Shabaab in Somalia and Boko Haram in Nigeria, with turbulence in the north and agitation in the south. Wherever you live in Nigeria, wherever news happens in Africa, we've got it covered. ANN News, connecting Africans in a truly African spirit.
Direct talks between military rulers and protest leaders have resumed in the Sudan, where a mediator says some progress has been made on the release of political prisoners. Negotiation talks have been stalled since May because of disagreements on the composition of the top body that will lead the country during a transition period. The African Union and Ethiopian mediators hope the 2 sides will agree on how to share positions on the Sovereign Council. Opposition groups also want an investigation of last month's deadly raid on their sitting. After a first round of fresh talks on Wednesday, African Union mediators said Sudan's military rulers had agreed to release all political prisoners. He did not offer further details or specify how many people were affected. Sudan's military council has been under pressure from the international community to hand over power. Protests were held on Sunday across the country to press for change. The demonstrations were organized in spite of a month-long internet shutdown and threats against opposition leaders. The resumption of dialogue restores hopes for a transition to civilian rule. That's CNN News Brief. Join us again at 5 for our full newscast. For details on these and other breaking stories, visit our website, ANNAfrica.news. Conversation continues on our social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at ANN Africa TV. I am Lucy Ademi.